National History Day got started back in 1974 in Cleveland, Ohio at Case Western Reserve University. A number of professors of history there were lamenting the devalued nature of the humanities in general and history in particular in the schools, and they wanted to do something to reinvigorate the way history is taught and learned, and they came up with National History Day.
Well, hello, my name is Abigail Kripe. I am about to be 17, and I did a senior group performance with my partner, Cecilia Fetters, and we did it on Danny Thomas, the stand-up comedian who stood up to cancer. As the topic was coming around, taking a stand in history, what better than a stand-up comedian who stood up to cancer?
These kids were being given a death sentence, basically, when they were diagnosed with cancer, and nobody was doing about it, and he just couldn't stand for that. And that was a very powerful thing, so we decided to do our project on that. We drove up to Memphis to the hospital to see the original St. Jude's. And we went in there, we got some updated stats for our performance, but we also saw the meaning behind the stats. Those aren't just numbers, those are kids. And it was very powerful, and we're gonna carry that for the rest of our lives. Even if we don't win anything, I think that really makes it worth it, that we're supporting this cause.
We've made it. And I think we've learned a lot from this. So, thanks to National History Day. This was awesome.
We love history!
I'm Joey Landgraf. I was an intern for National History Day when I was a junior here at the University of Maryland College Park. I majored in secondary education in history, and then I went on to Villanova for graduate studies in history and just graduated. And now I'm going to be teaching U.S. government and U.S. history at the high school that I went to, actually. Yesterday I did junior group exhibit, and today I did senior group website. So as a graduate student in history, I care a lot about the boring bones of history, so I want to see students engaging in primary sources. I think that's where the meat is. Students can read secondary sources and spit that back to me, but I really want to see them get into the sources and compare the sources to one another and really draw their own conclusions without influence from another historian or a textbook. So I really like to see when they, as best they could, have gone to archives or even using digital archives like Chronicling America. So in 9th grade I did science fair, and it was a requirement for everyone in the state of Maryland to do the science fair project in 9th grade for biology. And really National History Day is just the science fair but for social studies, for history, and so it's something that's very easily integrated into curriculum. You could have every student do it. It increases engagement because students are intrinsically motivated in a particular topic, so it makes it easier for teachers that might have headaches with students, and it teaches students to be empathetic across history, but it also teaches them skills that they can use that transfer to any other discipline, research skills, communication skills, interpersonal skills. So really it's not just about history, it's about becoming a well-rounded humanitarian and someone that can contribute in today's society, I think. Our world is becoming so much smaller, but so much more complex. So many cultures and different peoples are interacting at a rate that's so much greater than it's ever been in history. And I just really think having that empathy for people other than you, not just across space, but also across time, is a useful skill. And that also plays a role in being an engaged citizen and someone that can relate to someone from another perspective, and someone that's going to agitate for change and really try and make a difference in their community. And so the humanities really, that is what the humanities are about, is understanding other people, other cultures, other language, and using that to better society and the community.
I am one of the coordinators for Texas. I'm the K-12 program manager for Texas State Historical Association, and we are the sponsoring institution for the Texas History Day program. We have approximately 70,000 students that start the program each year at the school level, and then they go through one of 24 regional contests to then make it to the state contest held at the University of Texas at Austin each spring. And then those qualified students that are first and second place in their respective categories and divisions join us each year at the National History Day program here in College Park. History, I think it's so important because history is a cornerstone for really understanding where we came from and what type of, where we are today. And it's an important piece for students to understand because it's something that is oftentimes just glossed over while they are in the classroom. The teachers are under a lot of pressure for testing and pushing things out, and we really want them to immerse themselves in doing historical research. It helps them become creative thinkers and also really being able to think for themselves. We started using Chronicling America when it first was pushed out in, it's been a number of years. I had several students that were die-hard Chronicling America students that really, they did so much research about it. And it obviously is still used in the programs today. But NEH has been a tremendous supporter of all of our programs, and National History Day is just, one of those. I learn something every year. I learn multiple things every year from the students. But one thing that they always restore my faith in humanity, no matter what. Their resilience when they may have faltered or when they just don't quite make the cut, and then when they stand up and cheer for their friends that they may even be competing against from other states and other affiliates. That's what makes it the warm and fuzzy for me. That's what keeps me going.
Now, that analogy may very well have been true, but what none of us knew until I attended a conference in Havana 40 years later was that during the Cuban Missile Crisis, 4 Soviet submarines were given a mission known only to a handful of people at the Kremlin. When we found out, Robert McNamara almost fell out of his chair.
I'm Daniel Williams. I was a participant in National History Day for 5 years, from 1990 to 1994. As soon as I began teaching at the University of West Georgia, which is where I'm currently a professor, I began volunteering as a judge at the state level for the Georgia History Day program. So for about 10 years, I've judged Georgia National History Day, volunteered for a variety of categories. And then this year, my stepson, who's 11 years old and is in 6th grade, is competing in History Day for the first time. And so we came together as a family, my wife and I and Leo, and he was here competing at the Nationals. History Day has grown, it's brought in more participants, and technology has expanded the range of options for students. But I think the core of History Day remains the same. That is, the judging sheets are actually very similar to what they were in the early 90s. Students are still assessed for the research that they do. They're still expected to use primary source materials, and they're still expected to excel in whatever medium of presentation they choose. So I think that by becoming better informed people and by better understanding other people, we're in a better position to become engaged citizens of the world. I think one of the wonderful things about History Day is that History Day allows each student involved to engage with history in their own way. They have a lot of latitude in selecting a topic, full freedom in selecting a topic. They have a wide array of choices in how to present that. And they can then engage with history on their own terms. And that's what I would most encourage people to do, is to take advantage of the opportunity that History Day offers to research something that you personally care about, and then to tell that story in a way that would be meaningful to you. I'm a history professor as well. I see several hundred students per year, and the vast majority have never had the opportunity to participate in History Day. And I think comparing what students have if they've participated in history versus what I think students oftentimes lack if they don't have that experience has given me a new appreciation for what History Day does. And I think that History Day is more important than ever in our national educational curricula. I strongly support what History Day is doing.
At the National Endowment for the Humanities, we are also proud of our long relationship with National History Day, which dates back to the 1970s, when the institution we now know as National History Day was just getting started.